welcome to Science Prodigy. So today we will be beginning the first chapter of chemistry, which is language of chemistry. So I have written down what we will be discussing today. First we will be talking about chemical symbols in detail. Then we will be talking about formula. Formula, that is the molecular formula. Then we will be discussing about valency and we will be seeing examples in all of them. Then fourth part is variable valency and finally radicals. I will be trying to discuss each and everything in details with you all, provided with the examples as well. So stay tuned and ensure that you are sitting with a copy and pen and keep on noting down the important details along with me. So before we begin, I would like to tell you that please subscribe my channel, because I'll be providing all the videos from the first chapter to the last chapter in this channel. I'll be discussing important questions. I will be discussing every particular aspect which is required for your exam, that too in great detail. So if you subscribe it, it will be for your benefit, that you will be getting everything handy with you. So to begin with the first part, what is a chemical symbol? Chemical symbol is nothing but it is just an abbreviated form for the name of an element, or you can call it a short form representation of the name of an element. So this is the short form representation of the name of an element. So let's see some examples. Like for chemical symbols, as we are saying that it is the short form for the name of an element. For example, if we say S means sulfur. It is the short form representation of the element sulfur. So that we don't have to always specify it in this way when we are using a molecular formula, describing it in this way is extremely helpful. So S for sulfur. Then again another example, Al, that is aluminium. Then I can show you a lot of examples. You will be finding all these different examples in your book as well, and you have already done them as well, like aluminium. Then Mg is for magnesium, Na is for sodium, Cs is for cesium, which is a radioactive alkali metal. Then in this way, you have already done this before as well. You already know what it is. Then B for boron, C for carbon, N for nitrogen, O for oxygen, F for fluorine, and accordingly Se means it is selenium. If we go for Rn, that means it is radon. So there is no end to this. You have already done all these chemical symbols, I hope so. Or you can also find it in your textbook. So this is the chemical symbol, that is the short form representation for the name of an element. Now moving forward to molecular formula, which indicates the name of a molecule in its short form. So it will be, obviously, if you don't know what is the chemical symbol, you cannot constitute what is or how is the molecular formula obtained. So if we go towards the molecular formula part, for example, if we go for the molecular formula part, you will see that when it comes to, for example, first simple example, NaCl. So NaCl is the molecular formula where we are having the symbols of two elements. First is sodium, then next is chloride. So this is the molecular formula for sodium chloride. Then we go for MgCl2. So this, I hope you can say that it is the molecular formula of magnesium chloride. Then moving forward to some other examples as well. If we actually see FeSO4. Now for those who don't know, Fe is the symbol of iron. So this one is the iron sulfate. So this is the molecular formula representing iron sulfate. Then moving forward to our next example, for example, it is NH4Cl, that is ammonium chloride. Now ammonium chloride, then we have, suppose FeS, it is iron sulfide. So in this way we have the molecular formula, which is actually constituted with the chemical symbols of the elements which are constituting the particular molecule or the compound. Now moving forward to the next part, which is a very important part. What is valency? Till class 8 you had the definition that valency is the combining capacity of an atom or an element in the formation of a molecule. But for now, as per the modern concept, we have this definition that valency is the number of electrons that are lost or the number of electrons that are gained by an electron atom of an element for the formation of a bond. So if we see valency in more detail with example, what is it? So as I said, the number of electrons that an atom of an element loses or gains or shares for the formation of a bond with some other element. Starting with the simpler ones, we see that sodium is a metal, more specifically an alkali metal. So if we actually see, sodium has a tendency of losing one electron to form Na+. So because it is forming a plus charge, only single unit, so we call that sodium is a univalent ion. Now why is it so that it is a univalent ion? I think you all have already done this in your previous classes as well, that how we actually determine it with respect to its electronic configuration. But still, if you have forgotten, I am just giving a quick recap. For sodium, the atomic number is 11. That means, as per the rule, the electronic configuration, keeping in mind the basic rule, it is 281. So because it is 281, so it can easily lose one electron and accordingly form a univalent ion. So its valency, the valency of sodium is 1. Now moving forward to some next element, maybe if we take the example of magnesium, Mg minus 2 electron forming Mg2 plus. So it is having a valency. The valency, because it loses 2 electrons to form its ion, the valency of Mg is 2. That means it is divalent. Why so? Again, if we see the electronic configuration of Mg, it is 282. So it can lose 2 of its electrons. Then if we go for aluminium loses 3 electrons to form Al3 plus. So it is known as a trivalent ion because it has the valency 3. So its valency is 3. Again, that is based on its electronic configuration. So valency is the number of electrons lost or gained by an atom for the formation of a bond with some other element. So moving forward to the next topic, what is variable valency and why do we observe variable valency? Why is the valency observed to vary for certain elements? Now you will see that there is a special kind of elements who actually show it. Special in the sense that only the D block elements are found to show variable valency, or the transition metals generally show variable valency. So what is the cause for the transition metals or the D block elements to show variable valency? The main reason is, in other cases, for example in sodium, magnesium, aluminium, nitrogen, we have seen that the number of electrons in any other case is lost only from the valence shell. The electrons are the valence electrons that are being lost. But when it comes to variable valency, the atoms of the elements which show variable valency generally have a tendency to lose electrons not just from the valence shell, but they can also lose the electron from the penultimate shell. Penultimate shell means the shell just before the valence shell. So it will not just lose the valence electrons, but it also shares a tendency to lose its penultimate electrons, that is the second last shell electrons. And as a result of this tendency, it results in a variable valency. And it is due to this variable valency that you will see that, for example, tin, which is a transition metal, we will find that tin has two valencies. That is Sn2 plus, which is obviously seen when it comes to SnCl2, as well as Sn4 plus. Then when it comes to iron, we will see iron exhibits variable valency of Fe2 plus and Fe3 plus. Now the first occurring valency, which is having a lower value, that is generally given the suffix OUS. That means the lower valency part, this one will be given the suffix OUS, so it is stannous. This one is ferrous. But when it comes to this part, which is the higher valency one, it will be ending with the suffix IC. That means it will be stannic. And this higher valency part, this one is termed as ferric, because it is having the higher valency, so the suffix is IC. Then if we again see for Cu, that is copper, exists in the form of Cu plus and Cu2 plus. So the lower valency one is termed as cuprous, OUS, having the suffix OUS, and the next valency part is termed as cupric, having the suffix IC. So with this we understood how certain elements show the variable valency. Now what are radicals? Moving forward to the next topic, what is a radical? Radical is basically nothing but an atom, or it can be a group of atoms which is constituting the same element or different elements, provided this particular atom is associated with a positive or a negative charge. So I repeat the definition. What is a radical? Once again, hear it, that a radical is a radical is a atom or a group of atoms which is actually a group of atoms of the same or different element, provided it is having a positive or a negative charge. So without example it is incomplete. So if we see an example, the first example, simpler example, Na plus, the moment we show it with a plus sign, it is a radical. So an atom with a plus sign. Now if we see the example of a group of atoms associated with a positive charge, it is the ammonium ion, NH4 plus ion. So it is a radical having a positive charge. So these are the cations. The ones which are the positively charged radicals are termed as the cations. Now if we see Fe2 plus, this is also a cation. If we see Mg2 plus, this is also a cation. If we see K plus, potassium ion, that is also a cation. If we see Al3 plus, it is also a cation. Now if we go for the anions part, that is the halogens are basically certain anions in general. That is, if we go for seeing an anion, that is a negatively charged radical. So an anion is nothing but a negatively charged radical. For example, negatively charged as a radical, we have got so many: Cl minus, Br minus, I minus. Okay, so these are F minus. So these are all negatively charged ions. Then we also have N3 minus. Then we have O2 minus. So in this way there are so many negatively charged radicals which are known as ions. I repeat the definition of an radical. It is basically a group of atom or an atoms or a single atom only, provided it is having a positive or a negative charge. So with this we end today's class, and next day we will be going into the more details of how to determine a valency, then what is the variable valency we have already done, then the basic how we can actually form the the molecular formula. We will be going more towards the example part next day, that is the question solving part in the next video. So till then, if you have not subscribed, subscribe the channel, press the bell icon. You will get all the videos of all your chapters done before time. So keep studying, and thank you. All the best to all of you.